The medal ceremony was held aboard the Argent Dawn, the flagship orbiting Elara 9, one of the reconstructed colonies. The ship gleamed under the twin suns, banners fluttering in artificial gravity. Officers in white dress uniforms lined up along the hangar's observation deck, their boots so clean you could see the reflection of the nebula through the glass beneath them. I stood front and center, my medals already clinking against each other. The admiral, old and silver-bearded, stepped forward with a small smile. "Commander Hale Roston," he said, voice echoing through the deck. "Savior of the Telner Front. The man who led the siege of Atter Prime and lived to tell the tale." Applause. Cameras. My chest swelled a bit, though I couldn't tell if it was pride or just fatigue. 11 years of death made celebration feel hollow. The Admiral continued. "As you know, the swarm's biology was unique. In the final battles, we encountered unexpected forms of sentience. One of them has volunteered to live under human guardianship." The room went quiet. Even the holodrones paused their slow rotation. Then from the side door she walked in. Or rather, was escorted in. 2 soldiers in black combat suits flanked her. She was tall, her skin an opalescent shade of gray-blue, faintly luminescent under the overhead lights. Her eyes, crimson and elliptical, glowed faintly, and her silver-white hair seemed to move as though stirred by an invisible breeze. She wore a restraint collar with embedded circuitry that pulsed like a heartbeat. "This," said the Admiral, "is Subject Aethera, formerly of the Swarm's bio-royalty caste. Her kind were the commanders of the ether fleets. This one saved your life during the final battle." Blinked. "What?" The Admiral smiled. "She pulled you from a decompressed section of the Vigilant. You were seconds from death. Her intervention cost her rank among her species. She has since chosen to ally herself with us." I looked at her. Thera stared back, unblinking, unreadable. Her voice, when it came, was low and resonant, vibrating in a way no human vocal cords could. "I am bound to you, Hale Roston," she said. "By choice and decree." Applause filled the room again. My mind was blank. A medal would have been simpler. To the assignment. They didn't just hand her over and walk away. The next few weeks were spent on the Dawn under supervised integration protocols, which basically meant psychological assessments, DNA compatibility testing, and a parade of scientists who wanted to poke at her with scanners. Thera tolerated it all in silence. She didn't eat, didn't sleep in any conventional sense. She just existed. Sometimes when the lights dimmed, I could see her veins pulse faintly with a soft red glow. And always she watched me. The first real conversation happened on the observation deck during one of the sleepless nights I'd started to collect like souvenirs. "You don't look at the stars like humans do," she said. Her accent was strange, harmonic, like every syllable was sung instead of spoken. "Turn. How do we look at them?" "With hunger," she said. "You wish to own them, to carve them into pieces. You conquer even the light." Smirk. "And your kind doesn't. We feed differently." I raised an eyebrow. "Feed?" Her gaze lingered on my neck for a second too long. Then she looked away. "The swarm evolved by absorbing the bioelectric fields of other species. What you would call energy or life. Like vampires," I muttered. "Yes," she said softly. "But we were born of necessity. You humans make monsters for sport." There was something sad in her tone, an ache that didn't belong to an enemy. 3. The outbreak. 2 months into the so-called peace, the alarms went off. We were stationed on Elara 9 by then, the new human colony rising from the ash of war. I'd been reassigned as a security liaison, essentially babysitting scientists who were reverse engineering swarm technology. Elara had been quietly living under my supervision, more guest than prisoner. Some people called her a pet behind my back. Others called her a weapon. The outbreak started in Research Dome 3. Containment failure. Swarm spores. Mutated and aggressive. Within hours, the scientists were dead or infected, their bodies twisted into grotesque hybrids of flesh and silicon. Command sealed the dome. I led a recon team to assess the situation. We lost 3 men in the first 5 minutes. Then the radio crackled. Commander Roston, fall back. The infection's spreading faster than expected. I looked at the dome ahead. Crimson light spilling through the cracks in the bulkheads, and then at Elara beside me. She wasn't afraid. If anything, she seemed alive again, like the air itself was nourishing her. I can stop it, she said. How? I demanded. It is of my kind, she said, voice firm. I can reclaim control. Before I could stop her, she stepped into the dome. For the feeding. Followed her, of course. What else could I do? The inside was a nightmare. Walls pulsing with organic matter, machinery half melted into flesh. The infected scientists twitched in unison, connected by threads of living light. Elara moved through them like a queen through her court. Her eyes blazed crimson. Then she fed. It wasn't like any feeding I could have imagined. Energy, pure and radiant, poured from the infected into her, and for a moment, her body became translucent, veins of light pulsing beneath her skin. The air crackled with power, and the dome shook as the network of living flesh began to dissolve. When it was over, she collapsed. I caught her before she hit the floor. Her skin was cold. You saved them, I said quietly. She looked up at me, faintly smiling. No, I delayed what is inevitable. The swarm is not dead. It only sleeps. Her eyes dimmed, and for the first time, I realized what the Admiral had meant. She wasn't just an alien prisoner. She was the bridge between 2 species. One that could destroy us or save us. The aftermath. Elara was confined to medical quarantine for weeks. The scientists were baffled. Her cellular structure had changed, hybridized even further. Her energy readings were off the scale. They called her the living singularity. Command wanted to dissect her. The Admiral wanted her destroyed. I refused. She saved the colony, I argued. Twice. Commander, the Admiral said, slamming his hand on the desk. She's a swarm queen. You don't keep a loaded nuke in your bedroom. She's not a weapon, I said. She's. He hesitated. What hail, he growled. She's what? I didn't have an answer. That night I broke her out. 6. The flight. We stole a courier ship and escaped orbit under cover of a meteor storm. The stars stretched into long streaks as we jumped to FTL. Elara sat in the co-pilot's seat, her eyes dim but alert. Why? She asked softly. You risk everything for me. Because you risked everything for me first, I said. And because I'm not letting them turn you into another experiment. She smiled faintly. You are strange, human. We drifted for weeks through uncharted space. She told me stories of her people, the ether kind, how they once were not conquerors but shepherds of dying worlds, absorbing energy to preserve life, not destroy it. The war had twisted that purpose. Every species loses itself eventually, she said. The swarm became hunger. Humanity will too. Maybe, I said. But maybe not. Maybe we learn. She tilted her head. And if we cannot, then we make damn sure the stars remember we tried. For the first time she laughed. It was a strange, melodic sound that filled the cabin like music. 7. The return months later, we found ourselves on the edge of the vortex rift, a place where space itself seemed to fold and bleed light. Sensors went wild. The swarm's signal pulsed there, faint but alive. "They're waking," Elara said quietly. "And they'll come for your worlds again." "Then let's stop them," I said. "You can't. Not without me." She turned toward the viewport, her reflection ghostly against the stars. "If I go to them, I can command the old mind. I can make them sleep again. But it will cost me everything I've become." My chest tightened. "There has to be another way." "There isn't," she whispered. "But know this, when they remember me, they will remember you. The human who saw beyond hunger." Before I could speak, she placed her hand against my chest. I felt warmth, light spreading through me, not painful but endless. My heartbeat slowed, synchronized with hers. Then she was gone. A burst of light filled the rift, and when it cleared, the swarm signal vanished. Silence. 8. The medal 2 years later, I was called back to the Argent Dawn. The war was officially over again. This time there were no outbreaks, no lingering threats. Just peace, or something that looked like it. The Admiral was older now, thinner, but his eyes still sharp. He handed me a box. "For your service," he said simply. Inside was a medal. Gold. Heavy. Meaningless. "And her?" "Yes." He hesitated. "There were energy readings in the rift a few weeks ago. Nothing solid. But some say a new star was born there." He nodded. "That sounds like her." He studied me. "You know, Commander, most men would have been happy with a medal." I smiled faintly. "I got something better." 9. Epilogue. I visit the observatory every night now. The vortex rift burns brighter than ever, a new star pulsing in its heart. I sometimes think I can hear her voice in the static between signals, soft, melodic, humming a tune that sounds almost human. Some nights when I close my eyes, I feel that same warmth in my chest, the echo of her touch. They'll write history books about the war, about the medals and victories. But they'll never understand what we really fought for. It wasn't survival. It wasn't conquest. It was connection. And if the stars ever whisper back, I'll know she's still out there, watching, feeding, dreaming, maybe even waiting. 9. Epilogue. Extended ending. I visit the observatory every night now. The vortex rift burns brighter than ever, a new star pulsing in its heart. They call it Ethera's light. It's the only place in the galaxy where the darkness feels alive, not menacing but watchful. Some nights, when the signal traffic dies and the instruments fall silent, I swear I can hear a whisper on the frequency bands. Not a word, not language, just a resonance that hums in my bones. It's her. She's out there, woven into the starlight, commanding what's left of the swarm, keeping it dreaming so we can live in peace. The scientists say the star's rhythm pulses like a heartbeat. I know whose it is. I kept the medal they gave me. It sits on my desk, cold and gleaming, never worn. But beside it, there's something else. A small shard of crystal I found embedded in the ship's hull the day after she vanished. It glows faintly red when I touch it, like it remembers me. Maybe it's foolish. Maybe it's just residual energy, a trick of quantum memory. But I like to believe it's a promise, hers. That somewhere beyond the light years and the silence, she's still guarding this fragile species that once called her enemy. And that someday, when the stars grow dim again, she'll return. Not as a weapon, not as a queen, but as the woman who taught a soldier that the galaxy's greatest wars aren't fought with guns, but with understanding. Until then, I keep watching the sky. Because when the stars whisper, I whisper back. And every time I do, the light in the rift burns just a little brighter.